Okay, so that's what it looks like all painted up. Now, a little bit on this back side and up from behind, I can't reach with the gun, so I'm just gonna get in there with cavity wax. You can get that at like any parts store. It's like a little wand that sprays wax in hard to reach places. All right, and then that's that side. So that's our finished product. All welded up, the whole nine. So I am gonna order brand new bushings for this, so don't be a hater. All right, I'm inside the in the cab. I'm gonna put my plug just below this other one here. This is like the factory one of all my original wiring. I'm gonna put this other one right below it. I can't go on the side of it because there's like a whole bunch of bracing on the other side. So I'm gonna put it right here. So I made this little cardboard template. So I'm gonna etch that on there. I'm gonna drill it all out. This is like a very fine fit. Like you got to get this super right. So once I get it in there, I'm sure it's gonna be like a lot of shaving and things like that I got to do to get it to fit tightly. But basically then, then the bulkhead will push through here and clip into the firewall. And then the other side has like a bolt on section. So that'll bolt, it uses like a 10 millimeter and it squeezes the two together. And I'm gonna add a little silicone around where it goes on, just for like an added little bit of seal, because I don't want any wind noise in this thing. I drilled a hole first, all right, because that is the same outer diameter as my furthest point on my template. So now I'm gonna just ream to get that shape. I think it's quicker to do it that way. This is plug number one. That was what the inside looked like. This second harness here has to go through there. I'm thinking I'm going to steal some space in one of these grommets here and just run it right through there. I'll probably have to take this plug apart and repin it, but that's not no big deal. And let me show you what it looks like on this side. So that's it all mounted up. Okay, so if you guys remember, this hole here is where the ECU originally was in the truck. So I made this panel to go over it, and I'm just going to use some panel bond adhesive. I'll glue that panel over, and then that's where this plug will mount. All right, so the one plug is mounted right there. I'm real happy with how that turned out. It looks pretty factory. And then I glued, I used panel bond adhesive, and I glued this panel on, this plate that I made. The second plug will go through that opening, and then there's one other small plug. It's like 5 wires. I'm gonna cut this one and see if I can share this opening and just run it along through there. But I'm about to paint this up and blend it in so it doesn't look so obvious. All this old seam sealer, this is something that like I did a long time ago, so I'm just gonna paint that too. But if you're wondering why that looks like fresh, it's not, it's old. This harness has a couple leads on it that aren't used. I left them in there because I wanted to have some options if I need to run some extra circuits, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of them because I have spots in the main plug that I can use. So I'm gonna de-pin this right here and take all these wires out of the plug so that I can use this hole right here, which is gonna share the grommet, the existing grommet that it uses. So basically I'm gonna cut that grommet open that already went right here, and I'm gonna squeeze an additional 5 wires into this harness. That way I don't need to add another hole in the firewall. Okay, so there we go. I'm having a hard time filming and working at the same time, but bear with me. This is the original harness. This is the new harness. The grommet is on the inside. We're gonna cut the grommet in half. We're going to pair these all to the center and then reinstall the grommet. And just by how tight everything will be, it'll reseal where we cut. To get this through, I had to de-pin this. So I'm gonna put these all back into this plug, and then this plug is gonna plug in right there on the radiator support, And then one of the very last things I'm going to do is like loom all this wiring and clean it up, because you know, I need this thing to run to really make sure everything works and triple check everything before I go ahead and loom it. So I know it looks a little messy right now, but this is going to look super clean. And then as far as the inside goes, this is what it looks like on the firewall. So we added that plug and we added that plug, and we're going to share. This is where we're going to share right here, going through there. All right, that's what it looks like with both harnesses ran through the same plug. I think it looks good. So now I'll loom everything, and it's gonna look super stock. All right, here's where I'm at. This is gonna mount to the wheel liner. This is the original truck harness. This is the Crown Vic harness. I took a little bit of a slack here and looped it. So once I loom that, I'll secure it properly. There's a ground wire that I mounted here. I already kind of showed you guys these two. This line runs up to the brake master. It looks a lot less intimidating at this point. These plugs are all the factory stuff for the truck harness. A lot of this is going to get removed, but I'm not going to do that until everything's working. There's another ground wire here, which I'm going to tuck down underneath. But for the most part, I mean, it's getting to be a lot less scary looking. All right, so we started this on Monday. Today's Friday. So we're 5 days in here on Project Jimbo, and we're about to chop the frame. So we're going to chop it right here. Same thing on that side right there. Got to tackle these brake lines. Now my brake flaring tool, it's like a bench mounted one, so I was trying to figure out how I can flare these, you know, without having like remove the entire line. So still got to think about that a little bit. But on this side, same thing on the fuel line. So I got to tackle those, and then I'm gonna eliminate. It had like this purge valve thing back here for emissions that came right off of here. So I'm just gonna loop this and eliminate this whole thing back here. That'll be one less bit of wiring I need in there, and kind of clean it up a little bit. Okay, I got the drive shaft disconnected, and we'll cut the mufflers both right here. And then once we do the stretch, we're just gonna put a piece of pipe in there. And until I do the coyote swap, I want to keep this thing completely stock. I want it to be quiet, and you know, I'm not trying to like build a custom exhaust for this stupid engine. So the drive shaft is disconnected, exhaust is both cut. I use a Sawzall to cut it. My cousin is a Jedi. He was supposed to come over and hack this with a lightsaber, but he couldn't make it in today, so I'm just doing it with a Sawzall. So I'm about to cut these brake lines and fuel lines, and then we're going to cut the frame. And we don't have a frame table here right now, so we're just going to kind of wing it, you know, backyard style. So we'll cut this, flare it, and put a section in that's like, I think about 18 inches, 17 and a half exactly, but I might put a little extra in there just in case. And I'll put this drain pan under here just to kind of catch any residual. All right, so I got that cracked. I'm just gonna let that drip. It's important to not mess up the end of these lines when you cut them too, because it'll make your flare weird. And each time you spin it, you gotta crank it a little bit. All right. right, so the game plan is we're going to tack these on either side of where we're going to make our cut before we do any cutting. That way, all we need to do is worry about the length. We're assuming the floor is pretty level, so, you know, backyard style. But we're going to cut this, add 17.5 inches, and should be good. All right, we're all chopped up. So the total amount that we needed was 17.5 inches. So you can see we got a brace here on that part of the frame, a brace here on this part of the frame, and we're pretty much just gonna overlap by 2 inches on either side, and just totally box it in, fully weld it in, put a couple plug welds on the old frame surface, and then, you know, make an exhaust section, put the drive shaft from the original drive line in. Hopefully that fits up. Make a couple brake lines, but this is not that big of a deal to stretch this frame.
Once you tighten this clamp up on here.
All right, homeboys, this is our setup. All right, so this one here is one sheet, and this one here is another. All right, see a little seam down in there. So we're gonna weld it right along here, and then we're gonna put some plugs in there too. All right, so check it out. The outside panel is welded in, this top strip, and then inside it also got welded all around. And now we just got to put this exterior cap on. As we weld it, we'll go through and tighten these up and get those nice and perfect. But that is basically the look. All right, so I got the frame all welded up, extended, ready to go. We are about to take that bed out there, pop it on here, and see what's up.